Thanks for taking the time to download and listen to this podcast from CelticUnderground.net. I'm Harry Brady, and this is Andrew H. Smith.
Does not do to say that two of their books, The Glory and the Dream and Dreams and but you've always been, in my 35 years as a journalist, you were always so generous with your time and knowledge, and I think I can say thanks in the part of all of our profession, really. You know, you're always so kind and so generous and so helpful.
Book, yeah. But he said, I'll tell you what, this is his address, contact him. So I wrote a letter to Tom. And, and he got back to me and said, I'll be in Glasgow for, coming over to Glasgow. And he said, why don't we meet in Glasgow? So I thought the ideal time to meet was, I think they were playing at Real Sociedad. I think it was a team in a European type Parkhead. So I said, well, why don't we meet in the centre of Glasgow beforehand? And so we met in this, and I gave him a place to meet. And that's the first time I met him. And, I mean, he'd done such a great book, that 45 to 70 was a great influence on me. And then, so we got talking, and he said, well, why don't we do a book, a history of Celtic? So I said, well, I'm all for it, you know. Yeah. You know, so basically what we'd agreed was I would do the research and he would do the writing. Right. And it worked out okay, you know, it worked out fine, aye.
Yeah. And so that would have been, but you're already
ended up doing five books with this.
Yeah. But in terms of like, the facts and figures that you've been doing before that, when did you start kind of putting this stuff together? Or what kind of outlet, was that the first outlet you had for it? Or did you write for like I mean, I know there was the Celtic, did you ever do stuff for them? You know, the kind
I did.
Or was that later?
I did articles for, what was the name of the magazine? I think it was
the Shamrock. Was it the Shamrock? Was it?
No, it was. I think George Sheridan was.
George Sheridan, yeah.
Yeah, he did a magazine, and I just began to get a real feel that we could produce a book.
Right.
You know.
So
a worthy book, worthy, you know.
We're talking kind of late 70s, early 80s?
Early 80s, yes.
Early 80s, yes. Early 80s.
And, you know, fortunately, it turned into a great success because it was the biggest selling in Scotland.
Oh, yeah, it's huge.
And we got a full week in the Evening Times of serialisation.
Right.
A whole week.
Wow.
Which I don't think has ever been done, you know, that full week of serialisation. And it turned out to be very well, and it was well received. Oh,
it was brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah. I mean, I think I've told you, but, you know, I just have memories of my family living room, and it was, you know, your bookshelf, and it was the King James Bible, it was the Pear's Encyclopedia, it was the Biographical Dictionary, and then it was The Glory and the Dream. And that was those four books were always pulled in. Well, maybe not the Bible so much, but the other three were always pulled in for, you know, like my mother, when again, for our younger listeners, they won't believe this, but when the telly used to finish and you'd get a wee blob at the end, my mum used to, if she wasn't feeling tired, she used to pull down The Glory and the Dream, and she would talk about, she used to always talk about, because she was going in the 50s, she was going to the game, she said, you know, biting your fingernails, praying for a draw, because you didn't really quite realise that when you were young, like me, how bad things had got for Celtic in those 50s. Was that when, I mean, when was your when did you start? What was it, how did it start?
Well, my father started. My father, first of all, he started telling me these stories of watching Celtic games. And I, you know, I'm fascinated with him, particularly one that fascinated me. I remember the 1931 Scottish Cup final.
Right.
Now, Celtic were down 2-0 with 8 minutes to go.
Right.
And the game seemed all over, right? And it didn't look at it. Jimmy McGrory scored a goal to give him a hope. And just about the last minute of the game, Craig the Motherwell centre half headed their own goal.
Right.
And Celtic had got a draw of it, and they won the replay actually quite comfortably. Right. You know, but he told me about being there, about the Motherwell fans sending pigeons back Because in those days, sending pigeons back with a message, the latest stages of the results and that, you know, what the result was.
Yeah.
And the reason was there was no radio coverage of the game. There was no commentary in the game. What you got in those days was just after time up, they give you the results, and then this guy would come along and give a wee talk about a particular game, and of course he would give a talk about the final.
Right.
But you had to wait until that happened.
Yeah.
If you're back, but unless these guys were sending back the messages, you know.
It's incredible to think,
Yeah.
you know, how you had to be there, you had to live in the moment, or you didn't know what was happening in that moment. People,
By the way he described it, I know it was like me just standing beside him.
Yeah.
That's how it was like. It was as if I was there.
Yeah.
You know, the way, I mean, he was just an ordinary workman, but just the way he told it. You know what I mean?
Such eloquence.
Fascinated. I was fascinated by Celtic and all, you know. And so I'd love to go to a game, you know. And when I did eventually get a chance to see the game, you know, so he took me there, and I can't remember the first game, but I just remember it was, I think it was an opening day of a season.
Right.
And a lovely Parkhead, it was a lovely sunny day.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful, you know.
Yeah.
The crowds going to the game, you know. I was fascinated. I was hooked.
Yeah, of course.
And then, you know, you could go, take me to games, and I remember one time, you know, in those days, the old jungle.
Right.
Which the roof, and they used to patch any time the rainwater was okay. I remember being up my dad, I was at what you call a wee smout, you know.
Yeah.
So my father lifted me up on his shoulders, and I watched the game, and what I do remember about the game, I think it might have been against Aberdeen, Charlie Tilley scored with a header.
Right.
You know, but these were heroes.
Yeah.
I mean, apart that, you look at the people that I watched.
So,
you know,
what we talk about? What kind of age were you when those early days?
Oh, Dad, I'd probably be about maybe 7 or 8.
Right.
In the early 50s.
You were born in
Wales in 1946, aye.
1946.
June 1946, aye.
So, you spent your first 4 years there, was that right?
First couple of years, and then we come back, because my mother and father married during the war. She was Welsh, of course, and
right.
She and her family, they run a farm out in the Cornwall Mountains.
Oh, right. Do you have any memories of those early years in Wales? No, really, no.
Very vague, you know, but then we used to go there every year. Me and my father and mother and me and my sister, we went down to Wales every summer during the summer holidays, you know.
Yeah.
It was great, I loved it.
Yeah, you still got an affection for...
Oh, Wales, Yeah.
They'll get family down there. So.
Not many left now. You know, people, I'm actually going there next week, actually. I hope to catch up with them, you know. But, through time, of course, that's what happens. And, But I loved it. But, I mean, I loved it.
Up here, where were you?
We moved out on Chetterton Road.
Chetterton Road,
yeah.
So would you walk to Celtic Park?
No, we just walked 100 yards to the tram stop. There was trams in those days. We would get a tram to Parkhead Cross, and then just walk down Springfield Road, and we went usually into the range, what you used to call the Rangers end.
Yeah.
You know, and there was no cover.
All right.
I remember the rain would be lashing you. People would all head for the jungle. You know. I mean, well, as I said, I was standing there watching this game against, I think it was Aberdeen until they scored. I remember it was dripping in. Water was dripping in.
Yeah, and that was the start of the season. That's when they were supposed to patch
I don't think they did anything about that really until Steen came. I think they began in '66. I think they began to do some proper roofing and all that in the thing, you know.
Did he have that kind of influence? Even do you think he would have that kind of influence? Even say,
well, he's the man that's responsible for them. Remember the thing with Barrowfield? He recommended that to the board.
Right.
And they listened to him. Why on earth they didn't bring him back, I do not know.
Yeah.
The man should have been manager, really, you know.
Yeah,
he should have been manager. Well, he showed it down film, didn't he, what he had?
I know.
You know what I mean? And the Hibs, of course, as well.
Yeah.
You know, he showed you what he did. I mean,
there was a religious thing going on there.
Well, that's what they say. I mean, but I wouldn't surprise me Bob, because Billy was Bob Kay was such a strong Catholic, but I can only just take the word of what a couple of players have said.
I was going to say, you've researched this, you must.
Yeah. Well, it's difficult. I mean, because Bob Kelly died in 1971 now, so you couldn't
actually speak to him, I know.
Yeah, I'd love to have spoken to him about it. But I think Bob Kelly's a man who, you know, he did things his own way, you know, and but he wouldn't let a manager run the club properly. You know what I mean? He ran the club, and that was a big fault was on the pitch.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Which those 50s that my mum was, you know, she was going as a young woman, you know, she was.
I mean, you look at the players they had: Evans, Peacock, Tully. Lord, I mean, what on earth was Celtic doing? But then again, what I must say is the 50s was a great era for Scottish football.
Yeah.
In terms of the competition. You look at the teams, Hibs, the famous five, Hearts are a good team, won the league twice in the 50s, Aberdeen were a good team, and Rangers were always strong. I mean, you couldn't really say it was an easy game. I mean, you went to these places, you couldn't say it was an easy game. Usually it was an easy game at Parkhead or on a lot of occasions, you know. You know, I mean, there was a legacy of the war.
Yeah.
When I was there, because during the war, the Celtic virtually gave up. They were off.
Yeah. You helped me with a piece. I did a piece during lockdown about the Warriors, and
they wrote it off.
They just gave it up. They didn't want to spend money.
And you know, there's such a bad thing that at one stage during the war, one Saturday in the war, there was nearly Celtic players threatened to go on strike.
Right.
Yeah, so I think a Southern League Cup game against the Rangers, one of his wartime competitions, a semi-final at Hampden.
Right.
And they were told by the manager, Jimmy McStay, they wouldn't be getting comps, the usual complimentary tickets, that their friends would be taken through into the enclosure. So they weren't happy about that, and they weren't happy about bonuses and various things. And they went in and they refused to strip, right? And, you know, then all of a sudden, just shortly before kick-off, down the door goes open, this thing would open, and there's Tom Waite, the Celtic chairman, and he said, "Look, just you get stripped now. Don't argue with me, get stripped, you know." And he did it. But it just shows you how bad. And of course, Matt Busby.
Oh yeah.
Turned up at Parkhead. There was nobody there. They just told, yeah.
We don't play guests.
Aye.
Yeah.
I wish he didn't, you know.
I know.
I mean, we didn't realise that people are out working and war work in the factories, and they did entertainment. I mean, what's the most natural thing for a Glaswegian? He wants to go to the fibber, doesn't he?
I know.
You know what I mean?
Bread and circuses.
To see his team providing the best they could die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And what is your early memories? You were saying about that was your first game, but what about the momentous ones, or early momentous ones, or early kind of like games that you remember as a kid, or just how did you catch the bug, or where did it really start to kind of?
Well, I mean, I enjoyed the game. I remember listening to the second half. I think it was of the Coronation Cup final.
Oh, right.
When Louis Wilkins scored that tremendous goal. Remember that too. But they were a cup team, Celtic. Only 51. They won the cup in 51, and then they struggled thereafter. You know, they won it in 54. They won the double 54. After that, they were losing cup finals, weren't they?
I know.
I remember the Clyde game.
Oh yeah.
That was live on television. They brought up Kenneth Wilson to commentate on it.
Was that the first one that was ever live?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And
when we talked, was that 50?
55.
55.
And what happened was that Celtic were winning, and Clyde got a corner kick, and Archie Robertson put this ball across. Next thing, the ball's the back of the net. And what happened there? And I'm watching as a boy.
Yeah.
I knew with tears. Watching this.
Were you watching the telly? Did you have a telly?
I didn't even tell my uncle had a telly.
Right.
Very few people had a telly in those days.
No.
But my uncle had a telly. And I watched it, and I was close to crying, you know. I mean, I couldn't understand how it happened.
Yeah.
Oh, the ball just went out in the net. And of course they lost the replay.
Yeah.
Because they dropped Bobby Collins for the replay. And the reason they brought Bobby Collins for the replay was because in the first game, he dunted the goalkeeper, allowed to do what they called the goalkeeper.
Yeah. Right.
But there was a great goalkeeper, a guy called Ken Hukins, a South African.
Right.
And Bob Kelly thought, this is ridiculous. This man, he's charging into, he's using a dunting too often.
Oh, right.
He dropped. And that's the way the team was picked in Kelly's whim, you know.
Mad.
There was no way you're in a football club, you know.
No.
You know.
No. And that was what your experience was. My mum used to say, I suppose, like, I tell my boy, you know, in the 90s, I thought it was never going to end, this kind of exile from kind of real success. My mum says that's how she, God rest her, she used to tell me that's how she felt about the 50s. So that was your kind of formative years, you know, and Celtic weren't a successful club or even a big club, let's be honest about it, because, I mean, I remember reading it was probably in one of your books of Bob Crampsey, either you or Bob Crampsey giving me all my kind of knowledge, but it was like Celtic were only the 4th best supported team in the 50s.
That wouldn't surprise me, yeah, because, I mean, Rangers, you could go to some games. Rangers and
Aberdeen and sorry, no, it would have been Hibs. It was probably Rangers, Aberdeen and Hearts.
Hearts, Hibs were a very attractive team.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, what used to happen, it was in the Hibs programme, but I've no reason to disbelieve it. In the winter, you know, say games were off.
Yeah.
Buses, and not just the guy claimed that when games were off, they would go to Easter Road to watch games. They'd take their bus. The bus would head for Easter Road. Yeah, this was a great form, isn't it?
Yeah.
The famous 5.
Yeah. Such flamboyance, and as you say, Celtic had a certain amount of flair.
The guy there, my favourite player out with the Celtic at that time was Gordon Smith.
Oh yeah,
Poetry in motion. What a player he was! What a joy it was to watch him play. Yeah. Hibs were a joy. I mean, a good side. But they were all strong sides.
I know.
I mean, Celtic couldn't guarantee a victory. I mean, you know what I mean?
No. So for you, what was your first time you saw them winning anything, actually, in the flesh? What was the first time you saw Celtic winning anything?
In the flesh? The major trophy would be the Cup final in '65.
Right.
Aye. Yep. Because I'd been to Cup finals in '61.
Yeah.
I'd been to one in '63 where I could beat Rangers. It was a real humiliation.
Well, I was going to say well beaten, aye.
The '61 one was the going to go some film. That was Steen's first trophy, and that was a terrible because at the end of the day, Celtic fans around people were still lit in it. There were bottles thrown at that end, and me and my father were down at the front. Oh yeah. And these things were coming whizzing down at us. You know, they were like guided missiles.
Yeah, scary.
You know, very scary, terrifying.
Incredibly.
And then the '63 one, where the replay, Celtic were absolutely rotten. And when it became 3-0, a lot of fans just went.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, and to me, I've often thought,
you would have been 16, 17.
Can you imagine if I'd gone down there at the bottom of the steps of Hampden and said to all these fans that are leaving, I said, don't worry, within 4 years we'll win the European Cup. They're taking you away, you know. Let you away gently to the...
That's one of the great chapters in the Glory in the Dream. I remember, I used to, because I actually had to do a debate, and there's a great paragraph in it about, you know, how that kind of, it was almost an 18-month turnaround even, you know, you might think. Look at how...
It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. And the other thing is, and as I've got it here, is that in 4 months after that final, right, Celtic played Rangers in the opening game of the season was League Cup.
Oh, yeah, the sections.
The match programme, right?
Yeah.
Had this statement in it. This is a club programme. This is unprecedented. I don't think I've ever seen it. This is an official publication.
Right. So it's a
Celtic programme this is for a Celtic programme the following week, the week after the Rangers game, right? And he's talking about the Rangers game. He said, whoever wrote this, he doesn't identify himself. Our match last Saturday was a very big disappointment to us all, and especially to the players. Up to the time that McNeil presented the opening goal to Rangers with a very stupid pass back. We were well on top and only bad finishing and some very ruthless tackling by Rangers defenders prevented us from opening and scoring.
Wow.
Imagine that.
I know. That's probably straight from Kelly.
It was sitting in your sort of thing, you know.
That was probably from
Kelly. That team that made such a bad start went on to reach the semi-final of the Cup winners.
I know.
And how can you contrive? You've got a 3-goal advantage. How can you contrive to lose 4 goals in Hungary?
The players I mean,
There was no guidance, nothing.
but the players told me they went to.
Aye.
Yeah, I heard that story about they were at that reception and there was a lady of the night. I don't know how you put it, they'd hired for the referee and all that.
Aye.
Because they always claimed that was.
Aye. Well, I've seen that before as well. I don't know. But I mean, it's just to me, I just.
But they were like that. They're quixotic, weren't they? Celtic.
They were quixotic, yeah.
They could win 7-0 one week and then they lose 2-0 to Airdrie or whatever the next week.
Yeah, but you know, and then you know the following season, they lost the League Cup final to Rangers.
Yeah.
And then after that, their form began to get bad, really bad.
Right.
And they began to late 64.
Late 64.
And the decline was setting in, you know, and I remember the Rangers game.
Right. Were you going to the games were you going to most of the home games and that?
Oh, I used to travel away games.
Oh, you went to away games. Sorry, people forget that.
The specials.
Oh, the specials, yeah.
And you know, and I remember this game against Rangers, and Rangers won the game. You know, they won the game, but Celtic, Jimmy Jones was sent off that day.
Oh yeah,
for fouling Toddy Beck.
This is 65, January 65.
January 65, fouling Toddy Beck.
Yeah.
And then Celtic then got in the game. Had a go at Rangers. And he got a penalty.
Right.
And Bobby Murder took it and skied it.
Right. Yeah.
And then after that, I mean, the team was down. The gates were going down just until the gate. And I could see it even in the football specials.
Yeah.
The people weren't going in the panel. You sensed it was unreal.
The football specials, the trains.
The trains. You had a feeling
that
something drastic was needed. And there was the Daily Record ran a thing of who should be Celtic's manager, how are you going to help Celtic's crisis? You know, and the pages devoted to it. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, one Sunday morning, they played Aberdeen on the Saturday, and Celtic skated them in a great game. They beat Aberdeen 7 goals or something off Aberdeen.
Yeah.
George Hughes just ran riot.
Right.
And a really icy day. And
did it, the famous picture of wearing his sand shoes, isn't it?
Yes,
they look like sand shoes.
Yeah, and then the following day, and there was an embargo placed on. They'd already fixed up Steen as the next manager,
right?
But they put an embargo, a press embargo, on this information.
Right.
So, but he broke it. This guy called Ken Robertson, who wrote for the Sunday Express.
Yeah.
He published it that Steen was going to be the next manager.
Wow.
So the cat was out of the bag.
Did you
cat was out of the bag. And there it was.
And did you kind of think everything's changed now, or everything's going to
change?
I
think when I Steen, I think that was a great hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was real hope there.
Yeah. You'd be 19 then, eh?
Yeah.
18, 19.
Coming up for 19, yes, aye. Yeah, you got a real feeling that something. And yet, even early games, there was no. I remember after that they went to Falkirk and got a big doing at Falkirk.
Oh yeah. I
mean, there was some, wasn't it? It was the old playing. So it took the team time to, but you could sense he was assessing the team, and he knew what team he was going to put in that cup quite early, I think. And then, of course, on the day, how could you? I mean, unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
How on earth could you? I mean, you know. First goal, Charlie Gallagher hits this ball. Now it hits the back, and usually the ball either goes down the way or it goes over the back, behind into the right. This one goes straight up, straight down.
Yeah.
I bet the old bundles into it, and then you say to yourself, what's that? I've never seen a goal like that. And then...
Well, you at that cup final,
and then they get the winner. Comes from Charlie Gallagher's corner kick. What a beautiful corner kick. Yeah.
Oh, aye.
He's responsible for 2 of the most significant results in Celtic's history.
Yeah.
And see if they weren't won that cup, you know, that would have been a wee bit of setback.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, the Vojvodina won.
Vojvodina, yeah.
Because if there had been a replay, I wouldn't have fancied Celtic's chances.
All right.
Definitely not, because they'd beaten Atletico Madrid on their own ground.
Right.
You know, and they were a formidable team. I mean, a big, powerful team.
Yeah.
Oh, tell you.
And what were you at that time? I know you were into librarianship, but was that were you doing your kind of studies for librarianship then, or was it?
No, I finished my thing then. I did my studies my library studies doing my course from 64 to 66.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And was that in Glasgow as well?
Glasgow College, what it used to call College of Commerce.
All right.
Yeah.
Did that become Strathclyde Uni kind of thing?
It did.
Yeah. Because my dad did library.
Part, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh aye.
So, and then were you working by the time that Lisbon rolled around?
Yes, I was, yeah. And
in the library, I
was working in the library, and I must say, I'll tell you a thing. I might never have gone to Lisbon because I was worried about the finances of it.
Right.
So I phoned up this mate of mine called Joe Hendry. I worked in Woodside Library and he worked in Maryhill Library, and I phoned him up one night and I said, look, he said, don't think about it. He says, go.
Yeah.
He said, because see, if you don't go, you'll regret it.
Yeah.
And Joe, and that's the reason why I went.
Yeah.
And I went down, I went down, I got a bus down, the overnight bus from Glasgow to London. Right? Stopped at all sorts of places, Scots, Clone and all that. Got into London following morning, we got what was called the boat train.
The boat train?
The boat train, yeah.
Right.
From Victoria Station.
Right.
And what it did was, you got on the train and then it took you to the coast, and then you get the boat across, and at the other end you got onto the French train.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we took it and we got into Paris, we stayed into Paris.
Right.
Stayed into Paris. And that's the first, I was intoxicated by Paris.
Yeah.
I thought it was great, and we were in for a drink and all that sort of thing.
Was that the first time you'd been abroad?
First time I'd ever been abroad. I hadn't been any further south than Crewe when I was changing at Crewe to go to Wales. That's as far as I'd got.
Yeah.
And then I got in Paris and you're sitting there drinking and you're sort of marvellous.
I know.
And Celtic fans, I got in touch. I'd been in Toby. Celtic fans had travelled in the bus from Glasgow as well. And it was great. And then we got on we get the train from Paris to the Spanish border.
Yeah.
And they would wait a while to get off the train because they had to change the gauges. Spain and France had different railway gauges.
Of course, right.
So we took the thing, we'll say, somebody died out, let's go up to San Sebastian.
Oh, yeah. I was there this summer.
Myself and son, we got up to San Sebastian. And we just into San Sebastian, the bloody rain come down and bloody torrent. It was an absolutely miserable place.
Yeah.
And then we get back on the train and then we get into Lisbon. And I always remember that, and on the train, and I'm sitting dozing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, here's this thing. Get your pies, your pies,
macaroon bars and all
macaroon bars, get your macaroon bars.
Your rolls.
And the door opens and there's this guy, a boy, his son, and they were selling macaroon bars to furnish their trip to Lisbon. Aye. And then we got into Lisbon itself, and the first thing I heard, step off a train at the Santa Apollonia station, what did I hear? Celtic song. It's all over the place.
Well, it was
the atmosphere was, I think somebody's wanted to say, but it's weirdly and wonderful Celtic. And that's what it was.
Yes.
Weird and wonderful. I mean, they were all over the place, and you could see people looking at you. You know what I'm saying? People looking at you. You are always strange. But they were making a fortune out of that.
Oh, yeah.
They bars must have made a fortune out of it.
Oh, yeah. It was about 15,000 when?
Oh, easily. Yeah. Yeah.
Most of them kind of...
See, Inter fans, there weren't as many Inter fans.
No.
You know what I mean?
It was a bit like that with, mine's Smiley finals, obviously, Seville, but, it was there wasn't that many Porto fans,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Compare.
But the Celtic fans were magnificent,
Yeah.
They when they behaved themselves and there was everything, they were a real credit to the club,
Yeah.
And it was marvellous. It really was.
Yeah.
The atmosphere was weird. You couldn't really, you had to be in there experience.
I know. So,
you know,
us guys of a certain vintage, we're so envious of you guys that are just a
aye,
generation above us because
yeah.
you're not going to know, nothing's going to replicate that.
Oh no, I mean, you know, it's, you know, I always remember my great memories of, you know, where I was in the centre, roughly in the centre of the pitch, you know, that was where our seating was, not far below they were representing the trophy.
All right, right.
And we were wondering, where do the teams come from, you know, because, it's, you know, we're used to people coming out of a tunnel and that, and we couldn't figure this out. And then all of a sudden, just before kick-off, you see them coming out, and it was there's a stairway up, always been a stairway up when you see them.
Is that
And
brilliant?
see when I see that jersey, when I see the jerseys, wow, Tuesday, it was a wonderful sight. And the Celtic fans just right away were getting into the you knew Celtic, the supporters, and even the Portuguese were with them as well.
Right.
That was great, you know. The atmosphere was terrific, you know.
Because of the way they played, and it's such a lasting impact on you that whole, because you've written about it so extensively, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got was it 46 kind of volumes you've got, like you know, like the
And the Celtic collection,
you donated.
Oh, I mean, it was extraordinary. I mean, and yet, I mean, I was getting very worried when the hour mark came.
Yeah.
No, seriously, because I mean, this guy Sartre was saving them, and I began to sense that Celtic a wee bit of sort of ragged,
right,
slightly ragged, you know, but just enough to do me. Yeah. And even, I mean, Tommy Gemmell admitted after the game, I mean, I got back home, I saw, I think it was a Daily Record or something like that, or Daily Express. After the match, he said that we were getting close as we were never going to score.
Yeah. Yeah, you get those games. You get those games.
I mean.
Yeah. Oh, aye.
I mean, because you're worried, you must be worried. I mean, you're putting all that pressure. I mean, it's difficult. And then all of a sudden, you know, that goal, turned it, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it was a marvellous goal. Finish. And then Stevie Chalmers.
Wow.
Such an intelligent piece of coming the blind side of the defence.
I always worry a bit offside. See, when you look at it, like...
No, it's not offside. No. He just came for the blind side of the defence.
I know. It's like...
And Celtic were denied a blatant penalty with 5 minutes to go.
Yeah.
When Sartre pulls down Willie Wallace. So I've got a photograph of it, and you can see his hands round Wallace. And the referee wouldn't give it.
I'm not convinced about their penalty either, but...
well, Jim Craig is very adamant it wasn't a penalty, you know.
Probably with them.
Yeah.
But for you, were you collecting, like... Is your interest in the kind of... Obviously, I've always had a kind of interest in facts and figures. I used to do scrapbooks and all that, Celtic games and all that when I was... Has that kind of started for you, that kind of... Just developing, deepening your knowledge based off...
Well, what I did was I got the Portuguese newspapers.
Right.
And
that was on the days... Like,
yeah.
And you kept them?
Well, I actually cut them up in photographs and that sort of thing, and I put them into an album, and I gave it... Eventually, years later, I gave it to Mitchell.
Right.
So the Mitchell's got a collection as well.
Oh, do they?
So has Hampden.
Right.
And so has Celtic Park.
Oh, they three different collections, eh? Wow. And Celtic's, is it 46 volumes?
Aye. I think it's more than 46, actually. Aye, that was all done. I mean, an awful lot of that.
You need to get a museum and get...
Well, I hope so. I hope one day they will. But I mean, the joy of it was to do was doing the research. I mean,
so is this when you so? You only think about writing books then, or were you think somehow committing kind of like the kind of history or delving into the history of Celtic at that time? Even were you thinking that you might do this? You know, you might get involved.
No, not at that particular time. No, it was only when. Really, when, as I said, I got the Bob Crampsey told me, he gave me his address, and me and Tom met.
But you done the facts.
I done the facts and figure.
You must have been interested.
Yeah, I was interested enough to do that, but I mean.
And you knew Bob Crampsey then?
Yeah, I knew Bob Crampsey. Yeah.
Well, you'd kind of develop because everybody knew when I got to Celtic in the 80s and all that. like people knew you know, you knew you as a kind of touchstone in terms of the historical stuff. Did you get a kind of, did people start to know you?
I did a few articles for the Celtic View.
Right.
Yeah.
When would that have been?
That'd have been in the 80s sometime.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, was that the mid-80s maybe again?
Something like that, yeah.
Was that even before?
Maybe early 80s, right?
Early 80s, right.
Aye.
Danny McCann, was he the editor, do you remember?
Can't remember who the editor was, but I remember I did
Right.
did articles, yeah.
Because we had people that, you know, and even when it came to my time, people, I mean, I get David Potter in, for instance.
Yeah,
you know,
he's a great loss.
Yeah.
Marvellous.
He was a good
I mean, yes, she's a great loss.
Yeah.
I bet. I mean, you look at his body of work's extraordinary.
Oh,
Absolutely extraordinary.
I love these kind of, because he came to the history teacher angle, you know.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, he was also into cricket as well.
I've been involved with it a couple of times because there wasn't many people in Scotland like cricket, so I used to enjoy my conversations with such a kind of, you're just such a gem of a fella, you know.
Yeah, it was a real shock when it happened. Oh yeah,
always
it was terrific.
He was,
yeah,
and he was great to deal with. Great to deal with. You could turn it. You could ask him, say, because sometimes you would have a cup game you weren't expecting, you know, at home, and say, any chance you can do a piece? Always delivered. It was always fun to read. God was great. You know what I mean? The real kind of effervescence he's writing. You know, you could tell his enthusiasm come through. And for you then, like,
which that's the thing. If you're doing writing, I've always said this to people that if I got to stage, and no matter how far it was, if I lost interest in it or began to do it, I'd just drop it, because I think you've got to have really enjoy doing it.
Exactly.
As long as you're enjoying it, I think it conveys itself to the reader.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what I would do. I mean, I've no hesitation about that, you know?
Yeah, and I like to think that's even, this extends to podcast, you know, I love doing them, and I get enthusiastic because I'm enthusiastic about it, and the people have had great people to speak to, you know? But for you, looking at, but you said Bob Cramsey kind of did the introductions with Tom. Like, how did you know Bob Cramsey? You know, like, at that stage?
Well, Bob, actually, when I worked at Bailison at the time, and Bob used to come
Library,
and present. They had a quiz competition for local schools. Right. And he used to come and present the trophy. Right. And that's where I met Bob.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, that's how I got to know him.
And at that time, were you kind of collecting, or was it just mentally lodging kind of facts? Were you interested in how Celtic had, because obviously you said the Tom Campbell book, 45 to 70.
I'd read football books, you know, and not just Celtic, but I'd read our football books. I mean, you know, you think about this, there'd only been one book published in Celtic when I was growing up. And that was a William Ailey one, and that was done in the late 30s.
Astonishing to think that, isn't it?
The next one was Charlie Tilley's, what in 1957 or 58.
So you've got...
Unbelievable.
So you've got William Ailey's...
Look how many there are today. Somebody told me there are about 500 or something like that.
Right. There's about 12 a year.
Aye.
But so you've William Ailey's book in 38.
Aye.
And then the next book after that was Charlie Tilley's.
Aye.
And when did that come? When was
57, 58.
57. So that was the first kind of Celtic player biography.
Aye.
Right. In 57, 58.
Called,
and then,
aye.
What was it called?
Pass to You, aye.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you got that one? Have you got that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
They're all quite kind of formulaic in those. Was that all right?
Yeah, well, usually the journalists would do it, and you just put their name to it. That's how it was done in those days, you know.
Yeah, there wasn't much insight necessarily, was there?
No, Charlie, just to talk about, you know, he's playing for Celtic. And, you know, and he's giving his views on, you know, various matches and that sort of thing. It was an interesting enough book, it was, I think it might be Malcolm Monroe did it, who was a journalist for the Citizen. So I think so, you know. So
then you had that, and then it was Tom's book, the 45 to 70?
Yes.
So that was that. That was three books.
That came out in 1960 sometime.
Right.
No, 1970, sorry. 1970. 45 to 1970.
So, till
Billy McNeil had a biography in 65, 66.
Right. So
I think that was Cyril Horne that did that.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, Cyril Horne, aye. So by the time it comes to 1970, Celtic. What was a Celtic Triumphant? Maybe, do you know that? Do you know that book? Do you know that one? Celtic Triumphant. That must have just been after Lisbon.
Yes, that was. I know the one you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that's right, yeah.
I've got that in the house for some reason.
Yeah.
I think I found it at an old charity shop or something. You know, you
Yeah.
get these. So you're really like you're getting to like the first 50 years of Celtic's history. Only 2 books. Incredible. And there'd never been a book written like The Glory and the Dream. Really, you know the way that it just was. It just changed. It almost changed the kind of whole kind of language around it and all that, and going delving back into the history and that obviously got you a bit of bother. Got you into a bit of bother, didn't it? Because
It did, because well, Celtic weren't happy about the fact that we pointed out that it had actually been founded in 1887.
why do you think people didn't know? It's amazing that people didn't even.
Yeah, but well, they've got things up, and they had things up to 1888. So it's going to be a bit difficult, isn't it?
I
You know
know.
what I mean? So take down what's up in the stand or whatever it is.
And was this just you through? I mean, how in terms of going through I used to go up the microfiche myself. I used to do kind of 10, 15, 25 years ago, in the programme, so I had to spend loads of time in the Mitchell. You must have spent...
ages.
You must have spent years in libraries.
Years in libraries. Oh, but it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
I said I enjoyed doing it. I said to you, if it, don't matter what stage I'd been at, if I'd lost interest in that or lost enjoyment of it, I would have packed in. Yeah.
And so is that when you...
Yeah.
And when you found that, because you were the first guys ever to the Glory and Dream, because it included the kind of the call to arms, if you like, about the Celtic Football Club for young Catholic males. It wasn't exactly a kind of thing of ecumenicism, was it? Like when you read that initial, but it, and it was like the meetings and all that. How did you manage to kind of dig into all this? Did you know, did you know what you were looking for, or was it just a matter of just going through all the newspapers at that time?
Oh, you get to know which papers you're more likely to get them in, the Mitchell had a good collection of stuff,
Right. And where else would you...
And I'd also go to the National Library of Scotland as well.
National Library of Scotland.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. And and what about other sources? How did you, in terms of when you were putting the materials together, like if you were researching it, for the Glory and the Dream, how would it work? How did it work with you and Tom then? Did you just pass him on stuff that you were finding and he would kind of stitch it together, or what, you know what I mean? Or what was he, the kind of narrative, how did it work?
Well, he would stitch together. I mean, I did a lot of research, and he'd maybe do the writings of it.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And then, he'd send it on to me.
Right.
Post and all that kind of thing,
Right.
Send it on to me, and then it would be passed to the publisher, and
they
would do their work on it,
Did you get resistance for Celtic? Because obviously then they brought...
Well, they didn't know anything about it until the book appeared.
No, right.
I mean, they knew nothing about it.
Right. And they wouldn't stock it. They wouldn't
well,
sell
so I believe that, yes, I believe that's true, yeah.
And then, of course, they had their own history the next year with Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
Who just, I've ripped off, I'm not going to lie, I've ripped off your books for some of my stuff and all that. It's like if the stuff's out there, it's hard to, you can't ignore it for the sake of, you know what I mean? Like, if you're writing about the same subject, it's hard not to. You lean on, that's what you built, that's what history does, isn't it? It builds on the kind of histories that... But it has to be said, Brian Wilson just kind of filleted your book for a lot of these things,
No, I don't think so. I mean, I've read his book, and there's a lot of stuff that's new in that.
Right.
There is a fair amount of stuff that's new, aye.
And then when you went back and did Dreams and Songs to Sing, did you feel that you could colour in some more of the kind of history, or did you...
Yeah.
As if things had come out, things emerged since your...
Yeah.
What kind of things, or what would you say if somebody asked you the difference of those two books? Because they're seminal works. I would urge anybody that's got any kind of interest in Celtic, if you want to read two books in the history, that's where you start. The Glory and the Dream and Dreams and Songs to Sing. Mm-hmm. And they're just like... They read like thriller, the Glory and Dream reads a bit, you know what I mean? It's a kind of thriller almost, it's really like a page turner in the way that it's written, which is a great tribute to Tom Campbell.
Yeah, well, we got a good reception, so I was very pleased with that. Yeah, we were both very pleased with that.
Yeah. And then did you determine to, you did the A to Z of Celtic, which
Yes,
was,
yes.
it was maybe 92 or something like that.
92, yes, that's right, yes.
Yeah, I remember that. That was again, that was really like that book and the Alphabet of Celtic, which is a phenomenal, those two were so, when they come out, changed everything. Like Paul Looney had a decent and good book as well, and he did that was the first time you'd ever seen all the games tabulated with the teams. I think that came out in about 92, 93 as well.
That's right, yeah.
So these books were really starting to, the history was getting...
The number of Celtic books was just...
Yeah.
Oh, it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
The number of,
It's just, I suppose it's a history that lends it such richness that it lends it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely does. I mean, it's an extraordinary history, Celtic, I mean, the social history is very important, Celtic,
again, you guys were the first really to set Celtic in its context. And you didn't shirk, there's been a lot of the club themselves lionised the history, but I remember when reading, it's probably Glory and Dream, just the shock about how quickly they moved away from the Brother Walford principles and all that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a club. I mean, Celtic were an extraordinary club. I mean, because there'd been so many other clubs that folded, Shamrocks and all that thing that just folded. Yeah. And Hibs had been only really successful at Hibernia. Had been only really successful, truly successful Irish club. And of course Celtic surpassed them,
What kind of things, when do you have any memories like the things that you found out or you discovered that either shocked you, surprised you, delighted you, what the kind of stuff that, what's when you no, because you can talk about your favourite games and all that, but you must have got your favourite kind of historical kind of revelations, no doubt, eh?
Aye.
Was there things that you just were so surprised to discover or learn? Or?
Well, you're not unsurprised doing these things, particularly with Celtic, No, but I mean, I get things, like this thing about about the criticising Billy McNeil in their own publication, and then things like that. The thing about the Celtic strike, it was written about by the old trainer Alec Dowdles.
Oh, right.
It's part of a series.
Wow.
Your Celtic team goes on strike as a heading,
Right.
He didn't actually go on strike, but they threatened to go on strike,
And it was so you just find that out when you.
I find that. Yeah, you just find it various places. You can find it in the most unexpected of places. You can find things, You didn't know about in Lisbon as well. I mean, but it's the same with Lisbon. The papers and the continental papers. When I looked at them in the library in Paris.
Yeah. How long did you spend there? You said that's some of your favourite times spending in a library, that Parisian library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's a marvellous library. And I mean, but, for example, I remember, them marvelling at Celtic, the supporters.
Right.
I mean, they just couldn't believe they had never. Remember one guy in it said they'd never seen supporters like this, never seen so many people come into a European Cup final. Yeah. For a particular club. You know what I mean?
And were you able? Do you think we'll always have Lisbon? Because there's the danger of there's been so much written in this. Is it scary? You think because I've got to try and find something fresh or whatever, or do you trust yourself that you will find something fresh?
Well, you never know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'd do any more books now.
Right.
I mean, I think there's so many coming out.
I know.
There's
so many angles.
I feel that was a worthy.
Yeah.
That is the last book. I think it's a worthy one.
Well, there you go. We'll always have Lisbon. I mean, even a reference to Casablanca, which is one of my favourite films. And it's like for you spending that one in Paris, and of course the thing that we hadn't heard that is in that book about the fact that it nearly wasn't Lisbon.
That's right. It's a politics,
yeah.
All because of the coverage of the Manchester United game, Manchester United Benfica, the one where George Best made his name.
Yeah.
You come back with a sombrero or something.
Oh, yeah.
That was the game. Well, the UEFA weren't happy with the coverage for that game. Television Portugal had come 64.
Right.
So it was...
It was a junta and all that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a dictatorship.
Yeah.
Salazar. And the thing was that they'd only been gone for 2 years, so it's better understandable. They didn't have technical problems, but they wanted to make sure they get rid. So they were taken away. It was taken away from them. It hadn't actually been announced yet, so they could just...
So it was taken away from Lisbon initially?
Aye.
And it was it supposed to be in Paris? It was going to be in Paris? The 67 final kind of thing?
I think I don't think they'd come. They didn't really usually decide that until actually days that
was there some charter in it?
They'd maybe decided maybe say the quarter final stage or something like where it's going to be the final.
Oh, right. You never knew necessarily at the start of the tournament?
No.
How wild
It's so
was that?
No, but that's the way it was, you know. I mean, UEFA weren't a big organisation. Because one of the interesting things is the number of newspapers in Britain, and I've also seen it in continental paper, the number of papers that are previewing the final, and they've got the original trophy.
Oh, right.
And by that time, of course, it had been signed by a new one, and I think that's because they didn't have the resources maybe to get it to every paper.
Oh,
or maybe
God.
didn't get it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the trophy was a wee kind of... It was a kind of ball shape and then another ball shape on top, wasn't it? It was kind of...
I describe it in there, and the thing was that they were selling replicas of that trophy in Lisbon. We thought, this is a trophy. And I bought one of them.
All right.
And when I saw Billy Neil lifting the cup, I said, that looks different from the one I've got, you know. And then I realised what happened was, no, I gave it away to somebody. When I come back home.
Right.
Oh, aye.
God,
but anyway, the thing was, I knew it was the wrong trophy, so it's no use to me, you know. So anyway, the thing is that that's what happened, you know.
Yeah.
They didn't have the right picture on their pages, you know. I think they did a record maybe one of the people. I can't remember, but it was definitely...
I don't know if it was one of your books, I read it, or somebody told me another one of these. I don't know if it's an urban myth kind of thing, so I'm not saying it was in your book. But you know Celtic's replica trophy?
Aye.
It's the wrong dimensions. Because it was, they cast it from, there was a book, a UEFA book, and they had a drawing of this new trophy at the back of it. But the guy had made it, the drawing was stubbier. See, if you look at Celtic's replica, it's not as long as it should be. See, at the bottom, it's stubbier. It's stubbier. And it's because Celtic cast it from a drawing that was in the back of a book, rather than they got the dimensions from...
Could have got it from the makers.
I know.
Aye.
But it's no, if you look at it, if you see it, it's not quite...
It was a Bern company that did it, Staderman.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they did that. They're the people that made the trophy.
Because clubs weren't doing that then, were they? They just handed it back after the year or whatever.
Something like that, yeah. That's right, yeah.
But Celtic...
You got a replica.
When did they...
replica, I think.
Did they... Was that quite early on they got that? Do you know?
What?
In the replica, in terms of when they got it, they ordered it up?
I think they got a replica. I think they got a replica from UEFA, I'm not sure, but I've seen a picture in which you can see the replica in the Celtic boardroom.
Oh, yeah. I thought they did that themselves. It was just their own kind of idea, so they would always have...
But I think
that's why it's the wrong shape. It's not quite the right shape.
Anyway, but...
Yeah.
You know, it's a heavy trophy.
Yeah.
Some size of trophy, you know.
Some size of trophy.
And that's when I knew. I looked up and I said, geez, what? It's
a great trophy. There's something... So that was the first time it was... That was the first time it was played for?
That's right. Yeah, trophy, yeah.
Even all these things, it's like...
The reason they got it, they got it was because Real Madrid were given it for winning it 6 times. They were given the original trophy in perpetuity.
Fair enough.
Well, they made the competition. It was really they'd been behind the trophy coming into existence because their president Santiago Bernabeu was one of true visionaries of football.
Oh, yeah.
He'd arranged to get built a big stadium that they've got just now,
Yeah.
and he needed people to fill it. So the best way, you got the best players, so he was getting players like Di Stefano and all that.
Yeah.
And then he realised they need to have a competition. And when the thing came up, the people that then, keep.
Oh, yeah.
They were really keen because
The French were pretty kind of trailblazing when it came in that kind
the
of stuff.
reason they were delighted to have it was because in France there was no midweek football at that time.
Oh, yeah.
So there was very little to cover. So they were delighted to be covering European games in midweek and all that. And,
I'll tell you, years later, you were always grateful sometimes for
anyway,
coverage of games.
And what happened was that the people in the keep, they were very much for it. And they had a big meeting in Paris, and Santiago Bernabéu was the most powerful voice in the meeting.
Yeah, so he said,
he pushed it, and that was it. And that was it. The competition came into being. And the first game was played in the pitch which Celtic won the European Cup.
All right.
Yep.
So starting that.
That was the very first game. Was played
National Stadium.
in 1956.
Apparently they're knocking it down this year.
Are they? It's sad. Very sad.
Because everybody, the generations of even my nephews and all that, they've gone, they've made the pilgrimage. It did feel like a kind of pilgrimage you had to make.
It's aye.
Thankfully, I've been there a few times, kind of thing, but the first time it was like, and they always see a number of people you speak to that just like they either have to tip the guy at the door to let them in, or they beg with him to let them in, and these guys must have had Celtic supporters coming
apparently they're used to it now. Yeah. They're used to Celtic fans turning up. They just shouldn't say, Celtic supporter,
because we even
come this way.
They let us, I've got pictures coming out of that tunnel as you talk about, and it's like, it sends goosebumps, you know what I mean? It gives.
Aye.
Just think of it.
Well, I remember as I said, the goosebumps when the two teams were coming out.
Yeah.
And a lovely sunny, and see that Celtic strip in the Interstrip.
Oh, yeah.
It was joyous to see, I thought, oh God, this is wonderful.
Yeah, the aesthetics of
this is wonderful. The cities were tremendous.
And even
Big Billy
the amphitheatre and all that.
Big Billy, could you get better?
I know.
I know.
It's like, it's been that, Celtic have kind of lived in the shadow of that, haven't they?
They have, Aye, they do.
It's a hard shadow to step out of,
I think so, yeah. It's different. But I mean, it's a great one to have, the first British team to do it.
I know, but
you know what I mean?
It does, I do curse you were probably there at 70. When
that
seemed to be the antithesis of everything that was about Lisbon was, even the weather, the strikes and all this.
I think subconsciously that victory against Leeds makes you think, because I'd imagine very few people left Hampden that night without thinking other than the fact that Celtic would win the European Cup. Yeah. And I think we sort of took it for granted they were going to win. The supporters took it for granted, and maybe subconsciously that seeps into the players.
Yeah.
But I think also the players, I've talked to one or two players, and they think one of the things that should have been done, big job, they reckon he should have played the same team as Pete
Should have played that. He didn't play George Conley, did he?
That's right. And what happened was Jim Brogan got an ankle knock very early on, and he was struggling.
Right.
And they reckon he should have taken him off and put George Conley on then.
Right.
And he might have turned it.
Yeah.
But they deserved on the night. On the night, they deserved to win it,
Okay.
But
what was that? How, in terms of like, if Lisbon was the kind of ultimate high, was that the ultimate low? Being there.
I was very disappointed at the time. You were disappointed, but it changes. We get to
Did you think you must have thought at that point? It would be natural. You must have thought at that point there'll be another day. There'll be another final in this kind of champions environment, and there hasn't been.
Mm-hmm.
You must have thought with the Quality Street gang coming through and all that.
Yeah, well, they did. Well, I mean, they get kicked out of it in 74.
I know.
But, I mean, the Feyenoord one is interesting because, I mean, they did a history of the final. A girl called Ellen Manning's there in a quarter. She came over to talk to me about it.
Right.
And, I got their viewpoint on it. And, there's a terrific book. It's marvellous colour pictures in it. And one of the, and one of the things that comes across is that, they too knew that Celtic expected to win it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's who? But
you're better to be the hunter.
But who? When they came back with the cup to Rotterdam in a big square. There was 200,000, estimated 200,000 people in this square. And I've seen pictures of it, and it does look like 200,000. No, it does look any space to move. And who gets the best view of it?
You were it?
No, a Celtic teddy bear.
Right.
Aye. Because what happened was, and I've seen there's a photograph of a Celtic teddy bear. Yeah.
What's that doing?
It's been put in the cup, and they're lifting the cup to the crowd, the Celtic teddy bear.
Right.
Aye. What happened was that when we were waiting the next day, there was chaos at the airport, strikes and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Chaos at Malpensa Airport. And while they were waiting here, apparently, Celtic fans spotted this Feyenoord group.
Yeah.
And he went over and tapped the guy on the shoulder and said, "Sir, you have this."
Right.
He gave him this Celtic
Right.
mascot, right? He gave it to this guy. He said, "That's there for you, right?"
Yeah.
So the director came home with it and gave it to his daughter.
Right.
After it was, paraded.
Yeah.
Thingy. And it's, the daughter is giving it to the museum in Rotterdam. They've got a museum in Rotterdam.
Yeah.
And it's in there.
Amazing. They get such affection, Feyenoord, for Celtic.
Yes, they do. Yes,
such affection.
Well, the fans got on okay.
Yeah.
It was a good.
That was the start of we didn't realise, but then Ajax won it the next 3 years, didn't it? So
yes,
4 years.
That's right. Yeah.
The Netherlands, as we now call,
yeah.
They dominated.
They definitely did. Yeah.
They dominated.
Yeah. Yes.
And Celtic were dominating the home front. I mean, for you, when you troll back through all your kind of your memories and whatever, what's your favourite kind of? Who's your favourite game? Is aside from the obvious one, but aside from Lisbon, but what would you say the kind of high points for you?
Well, I'd have to say Leeds games, the 2 Leeds games.
Right.
I think Celtic reached real heights at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, glorious, 2 great games.
Oh, yeah.
The game at Leeds and the game at the way, because the English were writing us off. They were dismissing us. Right. Walk over Leeds,
Yeah.
Celtic shouldn't charge them how they, didn't half,
And that's that record crowd.
The game at Hampden, I mean.
A record crowd for a European football game.
Aye.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing, the crowd, isn't it? Absolutely amazing.
No. And apparently it was underreported.
Yeah.
It was 146, was it?
Aye, something like that, yeah. Yeah.
People
I mean,
10,000, 20,000.
they reckon there was people getting in nefarious ways, Yeah. Oh, I mean, it was
a crowd like that, was it really tight? I was going to say, was it?
You couldn't move in it. Honestly, you couldn't move in it. You were like that.
Yeah.
Aye.
I remember even when I went and started going in the 70s and 80s and, away grounds, at Capel or whatever, you would be like stitches like where you could actually lift your feet and, you'd still be kept up. You wouldn't have your feet in the ground.
Oh, aye.
It's just because you're so squeezed in.
That's right, yeah.
So squeezed in. And you said to me before as well, like, in terms of once you go beyond the Steen era and such like 2003, another...
Yes.
The other European final.
Yeah.
And you say for you, because of Larson that night.
Aye. I think
that's what the kind of younger generation.
Individual performance I've seen from a Celtic player.
Yeah.
People might think, but when you look at those goals he scored and the way he dragged Celtic back into that game, extraordinary.
Yeah. And is that
apparently he's still upset at that losing it. I mean, he's got a Champions League medal.
I know,
but he's still annoyed at it. That's the kind of player I like.
Yeah.
That's the kind of player I like.
No, definitely.
He'd been worthy to be in that Lisbon Lions side.
Yeah. He would have got in the Lions side.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd never swap the lines for him.
I know.
But, you know, just about, you know, I mean, he's worthy. I mean, he had that.
Yeah.
You know, look at those goals.
I know.
Extraordinary, isn't
Yeah.
he? Yeah, I know.
His sheer appetite for the, you know, like he would, you know, like it could be Stranraer in the Scottish Cup on a Sunday night, and he would be still as on it.
That's what I want.
You know,
That's what you want off any player, in particular a Celtic player. You want the player to give you everything.
every time.
And he did a rapport with his fans, didn't he?
And he did that.
Which in modern times, I don't think it's been equalled.
No.
Not since then. Celtic haven't had a player since Larkin left.
They'll never have a player like that for 7 years now.
No. Because it was
That's gone now.
Yeah.
That era's gone. You don't have a player like that for 7 years.
Yeah.
Unless you're Man City, Barcelona, not even Barcelona these days, or Real Madrid.
Practically. They've got no money apparently.
Yeah, I know.
About, yeah.
So unless you're actually probably Real Madrid, people don't make careers at any clubs.
No.
Not even some of the biggest now.
No, it's moving around now. That is all gone now. See, and I think Scottish football, I think, lacks personality.
Yeah, and you were saying about the personalities.
Lacks personalities. I mean, when I was loved players like Radgrom, but I mean, personalities, you know, Charlie Tully.
You were allowed to have personality, but weren't you?
Yeah, no, aye.
Yeah.
Because you're playing off the cuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I mean, they thrilled you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I love watching these guys, Tully and,
you
know, Bertie Peacock and Bobby Collins and all that, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you think they won pretty, but I mean, as I say, the competition was great.
Yeah.
I mean,
And Celtic.
I mean, in that decade, the 50s, Hearts won the league twice.
I know.
You know what I mean? Aberdeen won the league.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's teams, I mean, and then the Scottish Cup, Clyde won the Scottish Cup twice. I mean, you could never guarantee a trophy, you know what I mean?
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know. It was incredible. It was incredible. For you, I mean, was that your kind of... Sometimes that's what happens. It's you get your favourites in childhood and nothing can really budge them, you know, because Tommy Burns, for me growing up, he was the guy at the posters on the wall. You know, so, but for you, was it like the likes of, I mean, who's your, you know, if
my favourite Celtic player of all time is Bobby Murdoch.
All right.
I remember Bobby Murdoch's first game against Hearts. Yeah. I just something about him, just something about his play. I thought, this boy's got it. And yet, 2 years later, he misses that penalty, and you could see his career's in a trough. Yeah. And Steens is right, move him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Move him into midfield. Yeah. What a difference it made to him, yeah. Just that one thing. What a player he was. And a nicer man you couldn't meet.
I know.
A very helpful guy.
Yeah.
A marvellous guy, you know.
Quite a shy guy, I found.
He was, yes. He was, yes. He
really
was.
The humility.
He was, yeah.
My family said, we loved Jinky and all that, we loved Jimmy Johnson and all that, and loved loads of those lines, but my kind of guy, people that watched Celtic at that time said he was the player. He was it.
Yeah, like, that's what you used to say when Murdoch plays Celtic.
Yeah, he was the world class player.
Yeah.
He could have played in any team.
I think so. Yeah.
And he had an ankle problem for the
final,
didn't
problem,
he?
Yes, yes, he did. Yeah.
He shouldn't really have played, should he?
Well, yeah, he shouldn't have, but...
Probably read that in one of your books, because...
Don't forget also, I mean, you've seen it, you know, he cried all the way to the dressing room, the final whistle. All the way down to the dressing room, he cried in tears when Celtic won Lisbon that night.
Right.
Cried all his way to the dressing room. So emotional about it.
Yeah, God rest him, because he didn't get long in this earth either. Really.
No, I was devastated, but actually I was going... I was setting out that morning to go to Milan for the final of the European Cup.
Right.
But as it was then, my friend Frank Garrighi was a big Inter fan.
Right.
But we'd gone to Milan, and I was just about to get out the door, and I heard the radio was on. Bobby Murdoch died. Jesus, God. I knew you hadn't been keeping. I was absolutely shocked, devastated. So what I just did was that I arranged for Jim Craig to send a condolence card on my behalf, you know.
Did you get to know these Did you get to know these guys through the books and all that? Because obviously
I
you
got
did the
to know
book
people like Billy McNeil and that, yeah, and George.
because you did the book with Kevin, God rest his soul too. Kevin McCarra, like one afternoon in Lisbon.
Kevin, yeah.
Yeah.
Say a nurse, Kevin, yeah.
Oh, I miss him.
Yeah. Kevin was terrific.
Oh,
Yeah.
what a beautiful. A risky sound like Brendan Rodgers. What a beautiful human being, but a genuinely beautiful human being. We Kevin was.
Yeah.
And as I say, and what a writer as well.
Oh, tremendous.
Yeah.
Yeah, tremendous writer.
You picked the good writers to go
Well,
with.
this is just it. I mean, I enjoyed every book I did, every one of the people I wrote books with, I enjoyed the whole experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you had, I did about 5 books with Tom Campbell. I did one with Kevin Cara. I did one with David Fryer, that one there.
Oh, yeah.
I did one with Peter Burns, the one about Hampden and the Sun.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah.
Oh, God, you were involved in that, Hampden and the Sun, aye, right?
Yeah, I was involved in that, but, yeah.
So many books altogether, Pat?
How many books? Yeah. Oh, about 10 or 11.
10 or 11,
right.
Aye. What's your personal favourite?
Well, don't really. I should also mention Jim Craig as well. I did a thing with Jim Craig as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so.
God, I've some good co-authors. But what's your, what's giving you greatest kind of professional satisfaction in that sense?
I wouldn't say any, but I think I just treated them all the same, you know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, I didn't, my efforts and all of them didn't stint, you know.
Yeah.
No, so I enjoyed it. As I said, I hadn't enjoyed it, I just piped it in. You know what I mean? You know.
And when did you know you were getting it? I mean, because people know you, like, they know, like, there's no many ordinary supporters be accorded the. You've got a special status, like you can go in the Celtic wiki, you've got your own entry, like you're part of Celtic, the very history that you wrote about, you've become part of it. You're part of that history, and you got your lifetime contribution award. I think what was the actual title they gave it? Like the one that you got for Celtic, the Player of the Year awards, the awards ceremony. I think it was 2016, was it, or 17?
Something like that,
yeah. So even that's recognised.
Mm-hmm.
You're recognised. You're not an ordinary fan. I know how humble you are and all that, but I think you deserve your place, and so this is a good way to finish it as any. But when did you kind of get that sense that people kind of know you the way they know certain? You're part of the fabric of Celtic, a really important part of the fabric of Celtic.
I don't bother about any of that. I mean, I just enjoy writing the books, you know.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, if people enjoy them, they enjoy them, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and do you still is it just a kind of lifetime buck? Do you still kind of research? Do you still dig away? Do you still?
Sometimes I get asked to. Somebody gives me a query and I'll maybe pop into Mitchell or somewhere and do it for them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm quite happy to do that, you know?
And so how do you, but it must does it give you a lot of pride that, you have this kind of, people, you're kind of Pat Woods of Celtic, Celtic have never had a historian, which I think it's an omission. I think they should have an historian they pay for, I think they should have a historian role within the club, and they've never had one, but there's quite a lot of clubs do. But you're the unofficial kind of.
No, I wouldn't say that. No.
De facto Celtic historian.
No, I wouldn't say that.
I'll say it for you then. In the sense.
They're getting a historian on the board, don't they? Wilson. So you know what I mean? It's. I don't see myself as in special or anything like that. I really don't. Yeah.
But I think you are, and it's been your enormous pleasure. The books you've been involved in and enormously illuminating and enlightening.
Well, that's the whole point. If people enjoy them, give people enjoyment and maybe and read about read about the club's history, and that's enjoyable and it's on right, you know.
Yeah.
So just pleased that people, enjoy
no.
them. As long as they do enjoy them, yeah.
Great. No, well, thanks very much for your time.
It was a pleasure, thanks.
It was brilliant to speak to you.
Thanks very much, yeah.
Brilliant, your debut. This is like his podcast debut, and Pat came to us, so I thank you from the bottom of my heart, Pat.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bring me sunshine in your smile.
We hope you enjoyed that podcast. There will be more along soon. Please share the joy of Celtic Underground. Rate us wherever you can find us on your podcast provision, and also subscribe to the celticunderground.substack.com. As you'll be aware, there are two types of subscription. There's free subscription, where you get a certain amount of content delivered directly to your email address, and then there's a paid for subscription where you get even more content delivered directly to your email address as and when it comes out. Anyway, enough of me. We hope you enjoyed the podcast, and this is me, Harry Brady, saying good night and God bless. Good night.
Bring me sunshine in your smile. Bring me laughter all the while. In this world where we live, there should be more happiness. So much joy you can give to each brand new bright tomorrow. Make me happy through the years. Never bring me any tears. Let your arms be as warm as the sun from up above. Bring me fun, bring me sunshine, bring me love, sweet love. Bring me fun, bring me sunshine, bring me